My brother lifted his glass and smirked. Here's to family, except for Jake, the failure who thinks money makes him worth something. My parents laughed. So, I raised my glass too and said, to the failure who just stopped paying for everything you own. Hey Reddit, I'm Jake, 32M. Have you ever had a moment where years of silence, sacrifice, and swallowing your pride suddenly boil over into one single sentence? For me, that moment happened over dinner after a lifetime of feeling like I never quite belonged in my own family. My brother made a cruel joke. My parents laughed, and I walked away from all of them. I grew up in a house where love wasn't unconditional. It was something you earned, and I never seemed to qualify. At the top of the family hierarchy was Cameron, 34M, my older brother. Tall, athletic, charismatic. He was the golden child. My parents practically built their lives around him. Every minor achievement of his became a family celebration. Football trophies, science fair ribbons, even his failed attempts at music, all proudly displayed on our walls. Then there was me. I was the quiet one. I loved sketchbooks, computers, and books far more than pep rallies and prom nights. I wasn't rebellious, just invisible. While Cameron received endless praise, I got shoulder pats and occasional reminders to try and be more normal. My mom would say, Jake's just different. My dad would mutter, he'll figure it out eventually. But eventually never seemed to come. At 18, while Cameron was still cruising through community college, I was already coding. I built a small app in high school that earned me enough to avoid flipping burgers at a fast food joint. I didn't talk about it. I had learned early on that my family neither understood nor cared. When I told my dad I was considering skipping the traditional 4-year college route to focus on building something real, he brushed me off. That's not a career, Jake. It's a hobby, he said as he turned back to watching Cameron play Call of Duty. So at 19, I moved out, not out of anger, but survival. I rented a dingy basement apartment with mold on the ceiling, lived off canned soup for weeks, and worked non-stop. Freelance coding, consulting, building, testing. By 23, I had created a security plugin that caught the eye of a startup incubator. By 25, I had founded my own company. By 28, I was a multimillionaire. But I didn't flaunt it. I wore the same hoodie, drove a Corolla, and kept my head down. I had built something real, something entirely mine. And then, after years of silence, my family called. Started small. Dad's truck broke down. Can you help out? Cameron's behind on rent. Can you cover it? Mom needs a new laptop for her candle business. Every time I said yes. Not because I wanted to buy their love, but because I had spent my whole life trying to earn it. In some twisted way, this felt like my last chance. So I paid. Quietly. I paid off their mortgage, covered Cameron's credit card debt, bought Dad a new truck, gifted Cameron a car, paid utility bills, funded holidays and birthdays. But despite everything, I remained on the sidelines. Even after all that, I wasn't really family. I was just the one keeping the lights on. Then came the night everything changed. Cameron and his fiancée, Dana, invited me to what was supposed to be a small engagement dinner, a casual gathering of both families. I brought a custom-engraved champagne set and a vintage bottle to celebrate. There were about 15 people, close friends, cousins, our parents, Dana's sister. I even wore a blazer and dress shoes, got a fresh haircut. The evening started off normally. Light conversation, awkward smiles, polite laughter. Then Cameron stood up and clinked his glass. I want to make a toast, he said, scanning the room. Everyone went quiet. He locked eyes with me and, with a fake grin, said, here's to family, except for Jake, the failure who thinks money makes him worth something. A few people chuckled nervously. My mom, my own mother, laughed out loud like it was the funniest thing she'd heard all year. My dad smirked and shook his head but said nothing. No one spoke up for me. I sat there, stunned, like all the air had been sucked from the room. Then, before I even realized what I was doing, I stood up. I raised my glass. To the failure who just stopped paying for everything you own. The room froze. Mouths hung open. Champagne glasses paused mid-air. I set my glass down, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. No yelling. No dramatic exit. Just me, finally done performing for people who only saw me as a walking ATM. I got in my car and drove. No music. No GPS. Just instinct. Halfway across town, my phone started blowing up. Cameron. Bro, what the hell was that? Mom. That was uncalled for. You embarrassed your brother. Dad. Grow up and learn to take a joke. I didn't answer. But the next morning, I made a few calls to my bank, my lawyer, every utility account I'd been quietly funding. I shut it all down. Mortgage? Cancelled. Car notes? Transferred back to my name. Family phone plan? Disconnected. Monthly allowance to Cameron? Gone. Emergency fund I'd set up for them? Liquidated. I sent Cameron one text. Hope Dana likes taking the bus. Then I went silent. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it because, for the first time in my life, I finally saw things clearly. I had been pouring myself into people who had never, not once, invested in me. And I was done pretending. The next morning, my phone buzzed with notifications. Cameron had posted some half-baked rant on Facebook about how money doesn't buy class, and how some people forget where they came from. He tagged our parents in the post like it was some kind of united family front against me. I didn't respond, not online, not privately. I just watched from the sidelines, detached from the chaos for once. Within a week, the fallout began. The car I had leased for Cameron? Repossessed. The utilities at my parents' house? Disconnected until they scrambled to open new accounts. The family phone plan? Gone. Dad left me a furious voicemail. This is childish, Jake. You're punishing your mother. Get over yourself. I saved the message, then blocked his number. By week 2, cousins started reaching out. Leah messaged, Hey, that toast was awful. I wanted to say something but didn't want to make it worse. You didn't deserve that.
I'm sorry.
Another cousin simply wrote, We're not all like them. I appreciated what you did. Quiet support. It meant more than I expected. Then came Dana. 2 weeks after the dinner, she messaged, Hey Jake, I should have spoken up that night. I didn't, and that's on me. But I've been thinking about Cameron and our future. The way he mocked you, the way your parents laughed. It's not just one dinner. It's a pattern. I'm ending the engagement. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Take care, Dana. I stared at her message for a long time. All I felt was relief. For her. For me. For the fact that someone had finally seen what I had endured for years. The next day, I replied, No apology needed. That took courage. I hope you find someone who sees your worth without tearing down others. She liked the message. That was the last we spoke. Months passed. My family's attempts to reach out slowly stopped. My mom emailed once, Jake, you've made your point. It's been hard without your help. But this isn't what family does.
No επάλεγη. No reflection.
Just a list of complaints wrapped in guilt. I replied with one question. Would you have laughed if Cameron said that to someone else? She didn't respond. By month 4, the silence became permanent. Cameron moved back in with my parents after losing yet another temp job, his third that year. Meanwhile, without my financial support, their lifestyle shrank back to what they could actually afford. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one shrinking. I used that time to grow. I started therapy. Real therapy, not the bottle it up and push through kind. I learned that boundaries aren't cruelty, that silence doesn't always mean peace, and that no amount of money will ever buy respect from people who've already decided you're worthless. I adopted a rescue dog named Comet, picked up digital art again, took a solo trip to Tokyo. Every step felt like peeling away a weight I'd carried my whole life. Almost a year later, a handwritten letter arrived in the mail. No return address. It was from my mom. Jake, you've made your point. We get it. But you can't just walk away from your family. Blood is blood. You're still our son. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I folded it, tucked it into a drawer, and never wrote back. Because here's the thing, blood is biology. But family? Family is behavior. And they never chose to act like family. I haven't spoken to any of them since. I'm sure they've rewritten the story. painted me as the villain who abandoned his family for money. But I've stopped rewriting myself to fit inside their version of love. Maybe they need that story, but I don't, because I don't need to win anymore. I just needed to walk away. I live in a quiet coastal town now. I run my own company, donate to causes I believe in, and mentor kids who remind me of a younger me. Smart, overlooked, just needing one person to believe in them. As for Cameron, last I heard, he's working retail part-time and still blaming me for destroying the family. But here's the truth. I didn't abandon anyone. I simply stopped financing their delusions. That night, when I raised my glass and said those words, "To the failure who just stopped paying for everything you own," I wasn't angry. I was finally free. I used to beg for a seat at their table. Now I sit at my own. And every time I pour a glass, I raise it to peace. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped needing them to understand who I am.